Good morning, landlocked Central Asia. Landlocked. Landlocked, a country that just has other countries on all of its borders, no coastline at all. We are waging a war, about to start our 10th year of war in a country that is landlocked. Waging a war, of course, takes a lot of big stuff. Some of that stuff you can load onto really big planes and get into the country by air, but not all of it. Not having a port, not being able to ship anything in is a real logistical pain. You really can't rely on airlifts for everything. There's going to have to be some shipping. There's going to have to be some trucking. Well, here's what some of that looks like for our decade of landlocked war in Central Asia right now. These are NATO vehicles loaded onto the back of big, awesome, colorful Pakistani jingle trucks. Those NATO vehicles on their way to the war over land. This is how we get a lot of our stuff to war. Ships can't go to Afghanistan because it's landlocked, and they can't go to the closest ports, which are in Iran, because, you know, Iran. So they go to Karachi. They go to Pakistan. They go to Karachi, and then the stuff gets taken off of ships, put on trucks, and then it gets driven all the way across Pakistan, all the way to the northwest corner there, you see there in Pakistan, the Khyber Pass, and then they cross over into Afghanistan or onto Kabul or whatever. That is how we supply the U.S. military in year 10 of our war in landlocked Afghanistan. And today, the Pakistani government cut that supply line off. Our supply lines for this war are that fragile, that stretched out, that thin, and today, cut off. It happened because of the thing we do not call a war in Pakistan. We talk about our war in Afghanistan, our war in Iraq, but then there's other war we're involved in that we don't really have simple language for anymore. The Bush administration said it was the war on terror, the war on terrorism, the global war on terrorism. That language is now used less by the Obama administration, but we are still waging it still all the same. The idea is that fighting terrorism is something that has to happen in a way that's almost post-national. That terrorist groups aren't countries, they span different countries, they can move around. So if you're going to fight a war against terrorists who want to launch attacks on Americans, it has to be a global war, a war anywhere on Earth. Countries don't really matter. But countries do matter. Borders do matter. They matter as much to anyone else in the world as they do to us. And apparently now Pakistan is over us. They are over us, acting like the war on people who happen to live in Pakistan, even though we don't say it's a war on Pakistan, is starting to feel like a war on Pakistan. Our flying robots, our planes without pilots, our drones are firing more missiles into Pakistan than ever before. Recently, it's been about one airstrike a day. But it is not just the pace of those remote control bombings picking up. This weekend, there were also 3 different airstrikes in which U.S. helicopters with pilots flew into Pakistan and launched strikes there. The U.S. said it was okay to do that because they were in hot pursuit of people who had shot at Americans in Afghanistan. And they said the hot pursuit rules let them do that. Pakistan says there are no hot pursuit rules. Pakistan says we never agreed to that. You actually have to stay out of our country. And then 2 days ago, New York Times reported that General Petraeus warned Pakistan that the U.S. could just start unilateral ground operations inside their country, that we could just send American troops marching into Pakistan. We could? General Petraeus reportedly warning Pakistan of that. Maybe he should warn us. Then at roughly 5:30 in the morning this morning, local time, not only did U.S. helicopters fly again into Pakistan again, they flew into Pakistan and shot at what everyone now admits were Pakistani soldiers at a frontier outpost. 3 of them killed, 3 injured, border post destroyed. Then a few hours later, we hit another one. NATO issued a statement of sincere condolences to those injured and killed. And the government of the country in which those men were killed, the government of the real, live, actual place with a name in which we are waging a war that we will only say is global, that we won't say is there in that specific place, that country's government retaliated against us by cutting off our supply route to the 100,000 American troops next door.
If you are being attacked, so are you fighting a war or are you in war together?
Are you fighting a war or are you in war together? That's Pakistan's foreign minister. Pakistan's foreign minister also told reporters about the U.S. today this, quote, "We will have to see whether we are allies or enemies." It is the idea of a global war on terrorism that transcends countries. right? Our idea is about fighting terrorists regardless of where they are, transcending countries, transcending national boundaries. But you know, if the United States decides that where it wants to fight happens to be in your country, the idea of what we're doing may transcend national boundaries, but the fighting doesn't. The fighting happens in specific places. If what's going on with this escalation that no one is talking about is that the war in Afghanistan is sort of officially expanding into Pakistan, then this isn't just ho-hum, another chapter in the global war that's everywhere. This is Laos and Cambodia 1970. I don't care if people want to talk about AFPAC like it's a single place, about Pakistan being an extension of the existing war. What this really is war in another country. It is another war. Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan. And no matter how much we'd like to say, oh, we're just here to help, you know what? They do not want us there. And so it's ultimately going to be a war not with, but against a country that has got a government, that has got an army, that has got a population of over 160 million people, more than half the population of our country. They've also got a global diaspora of people from there all over the world who will in some sense think of their country as in a war with America. And oh yeah, Pakistan has nuclear weapons. What it seems like is going on right now is that the U.S. is testing, U.S. officials and U.S. military leaders are testing the idea of the war in Afghanistan being expanded into Pakistan, and they're doing it quietly. But they're talking about it as if it's unavoidable, as if it's some natural extension of what it is we're already doing in the other war. If that is what's happening, if they are test driving, floating this idea of the war expanding into Pakistan, it is not a secret, and it is not going to be a secret. I guarantee it. I don't plan on being quiet about it. In fact, I plan on screaming bloody murder about it.